Hello, good morning, and it's always a pleasure to have you join us on Newspaper Review, Super Citizen Newspaper Review on Citizen 93 Abuja. It's the 26th day of December 2025, and it's Boxing Day, so we will commence the show immediately, and we'll start off with looking at the headlines. Later on, during the second half of the show, we will look at some of the stories in details. We start off immediately from the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Trump says U.S. launched numerous deadly strikes on ISIS in Nigeria. That's from the Vanguard newspaper. Abducted Niger Catholic School pupils staff and on Borno attack, Tinubu orders security agencies to intensify surveillance. All right, we move on to the Nation newspaper now. Nigeria, U.S. hit terrorists in Sokoto. We will continue to promote religious tolerance, says Tinubu. And the federal government is saying Borno attack won't deter us. Still staying with the Nation newspaper, AGN President faults Khan over Iniedo's a very dirty Christmas. And governors, senators, others preach peace, unity. The Tribune is next now. Precision hits on terrorist targets. Nigerian government confirms U.S. airstrikes. And Gbajabiamila still chief of staff to Tinubu presidency clarifies. And Maiduguri mass bombing, Tinubu orders deployment of additional tactical teams. And there will be many more, Trump speaks on U.S. airstrikes in Nigeria. Precision hits on terrorist targets, Nigerian government confirms U.S. airstrike. And Badoro, other ministers who have resigned or dismissed under Tinubu administration. And Nimet forecast 3 days sunshine, cloudiness from Friday. All right, the cable news is terrorists in Nigeria. And the NLC is saying workers not consulted on new tax laws. FG should suspend implementation. And Akim Baba Ahmed is saying PDP's gone beyond repair. ADC can offer credible opposition. And presidency hasn't replaced Miller as chief of staff, says. And still staying with the cable newspaper, INEC clears only 2 associations for final party registration stage. The Sun newspaper is next now. Trump says U.S. launched airstrikes against ISWAP targets in Nigeria. Federal government defends U.S. security operation in Sokoto. And on insecurity, PDP dismisses Tinubu's assurance on religion. This day newspaper is next now. U.S. strikes hit terrorist camps in Sokoto. FG confirms U.S. strikes on terrorist targets in Nigeria. Attributes action to structured security cooperation. The FCC files 16 counts charge against ex-AGF Malami. And ahead of 2027 polls, Tinubu inaugurates Governor May Boni-led 15-man APC committee on strategy, conflict resolution, and mobilization. And fire guards 25-story Great Nigeria Insurance House in Lagos. And the Punch newspaper next now. Airstrike shows Nigeria allies resolve to counter terrorism. That's from the DHQ, the Defense Headquarters. And police foil Benue Christmas Day kidnap attempt, rescue victims. Federal government reshuffles NCCA. Federal government reshuffles NCCA directors amid corruption allegation. And presidency denies Gbajabiamila's removal as Tinubu's chief of staff. Federal government confirms U.S. strikes on terrorist sites intelligence operation. And 2026 budget, Anambra, Enugu, Kano lead in education funding. Tax law mismatches pose serious risk, CITN warns. Borno bomb blast sparks heightened security nationwide. And Christmas Day tanker explosion claims 2 lives in Lagos. We move on to the Guardian newspaper now. Trump announces U.S. strikes on terrorists in Nigeria. And Gbajabiamila remains chief of staff. Presidency clarifies. This is just as 2 die in diesel tanker explosions in Lagos on Christmas Day. 6 Zamfara House of Assembly members dump PDP for APC. And police claim suicide bomber behind Nigeria's deadly blast on Christmas Eve. Fubara's wife gives children at Christmas. Federal government urges Nigerians to promote peace, unity at Christmas. And Niger recruits forest guards, urges discipline and resilience. And Pastor Okafor demands DNA test as lady claims to be daughter. Police debunks IPI claim, others probe into journalist arrest. And Shatima condemns Maiduguri mosque bombing as Tinubu orders security action. We move on to this day to Daily Trust newspaper, Peaceful Christmas nationwide. And on Sokoto airstrike, U.S. War Secretary thanks FG for support. All right, we move on to New Telegraph now. Christmas, a shared responsibility from Peter Obi, and U.S. launches strikes on ISIS terrorists in Nigeria. Tinubu commends Bagudu 4 years of service on birthday. And presidency debunks report of Gbajabiamila's replacement as chief of staff. All right, we move on to penpushing.com now. All Democratic Alliance condemns Independent National Electoral Commission over non-registration as political party. And still staying with penpushing.com, I'm going to hand over peacefully to new administration in 2027, says Governor Abiodun. And more on pen pushing, robbers loot charge in Benue State. Nigerian government dismisses claim of Gbajabiamila's replacement as chief of staff. And Nigerian judge commends Women's Advocates Research Documentation Center for leading role in fighting for justice for indigenous victims of various crimes. And finally, on pen pushing, America launches airstrikes on terrorists in Nigeria on Christmas night, says Trump. And for more stories on penpushing.com, you check out the paper. It's a source of authentic news globally. All right, we'll take a short break now. When we return, we will go into the second half of this show where we'll look at some of the stories in details. It's still Super Citizen Newspaper Review on 93.7 FM Abuja. Please don't go away, the program returns shortly.
Oya o my people, make una come gather here. Which kind tori una wan hear on top radio? Wetin dey catch fire on top social media? Bring am on top Make We Talk Am for Citizen 93.7 FM Abuja every Monday go reach Thursday, and the time na 5:10 wey be 10 minutes after 5. Make we talk am as e dey be.
Bàbá mi tí ẹ wà ní agbègbè Àbújá àti jákèjádò orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà. Rédíò kan ṣoṣo tí gbogbo èèyàn fẹ́ràn láti máa gbọ́, tó fúnni nímọ̀, tó fúnni lọ́gbọ́n, tó fúnni lóye. Citizen FM ní 93.7 ẹ máa gbọ́. Èmi Àlímọ̀t Àyìnlá Ọmọwúrà ló sọ fún yín pé gbogbo ìgbà tí ẹ bá ti ń gbọ́ Citizen FM 93.7 inú yín ó mọ̀ dùn. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. It's still Super Citizen Newspaper Review on Citizen 93.7 FM Abuja. And this is the second half of the show, the part where we look at some of the stories in details, and also the part where we open our phone lines. The lines are already open. You can join us now, 0903 2229797. That's 0903 2229797. You can also call us on 0818-2222-205. That's 0818-2222-205. Don't forget, you can also send us WhatsApp messages in case you don't want to make that voice call. All right, Mr. Salami is in the studio. Good morning, Mr. Salami.
Very good morning to you, Lawrence Umwiti. And are you ready for boxing?
Yes, the gloves are already here, waiting for after the show. All right, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Salami.
It's a pleasure.
Mr. Salami is Chief Operating Officer and Citizen 93.7. And as usual, we will be leaning heavily on him to squeeze out everything that is left of his wealth of experience during the second half of this show. All right, Mr. Salami, let's start off with where else but the story that has dominated the media space across the world, I must confirm, and that's the U.S. strikes on terrorist targets in Nigeria. And this is how this day newspaper uses the story. Federal government confirms U.S. strikes on terrorist targets in Nigeria, attributes action to structured security cooperation. And the federal government has confirmed that coordinated security cooperation with international partners, including the United States, has resulted in precision airstrikes on terrorist targets in the northwest of Nigeria. The operations are part of ongoing efforts to tackle persistent terrorism and violent extremism across the country. In a statement confirming the earlier tweet of U.S. President Donald Trump, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson has said, and there's a quote here, Nigerian authorities remain engaged in structured security cooperation with international partners. This has led to precision hits on terrorist targets in Nigeria by airstrikes in the northwest. The ministry emphasized that the collaboration includes intelligence sharing, strategic coordination, and other forms of support conducted in line with international law, mutual respect for Nigeria's sovereignty, and commitment to regional and global security. Mr. Salam.
How do you begin this analysis? When I read this around 4 a.m. this morning, I was full of doubts until I read the statement from the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs, signed by the spokesperson. And when I looked at some of the mainstream newspapers, I now believe that yes, the US did what they said they would do to assist us. Precision airstrike, they call it. And ISIS.
Just a moment, Mr. Salami. I think we have a caller here. Hello, good morning.
Huh?
Hello? I think we have... I don't know. You can go ahead, Mr. Salami.
So, the bottom line, the US struck at the northwest. And according to the tweet from the US president, he directed that numerous airstrikes should land on ISIS terrorists. Lawrence, I never knew that it would get to this level.
Okay.
I never knew. In fact, I was still telling myself that no, we will not need help. But it appears that it is beyond us now. Because the world is a global village. And the need to preserve life and security of life and property is the mandate, the sole objective of any government so-called. I don't see anything bad in seeking assistance if you do need it. But there is the need for circumspection. There is the need for circumspection, and it is still unfolding. Let us keep our fingers open.
All right. For me, I think I just want us to look at the different slants that the Nigerian media is picking the story. And from this Daily Trust here, Sokoto airstrike, federal government breaks silence, vow to weaken terrorist network. The federal government has reacted to the airstrike, which the United States launched in the northwest. And from there, from Daily Trust to The Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper has a story this way: Nigeria, US hit terrorists in Sokoto. And Vanguard says, Trump says US launched numerous deadly strike on ISIS in Nigeria. And the Cable says US bombs ISIS terrorists in Nigeria. The Sun, Trump says US launch airstrikes against ISWAP targets in Nigeria. So I think we have the common thread they're running through the stories is that one, the targets were terrorists. Two, the operation was precision-based. And three, if we go by the account of some newspapers, there was a level of cooperation between the Nigerian government, especially in terms of the intelligence and everything involved in this operation. So it's not just like you said, it's not a black and white thing. It's more complicated than the surface, the story says on the surface. And it's something that has been in the making for long. If you followed the development in the last 3 months or thereabout, the level of diplomatic shuttle between the Nigerian officials and their U.S. counterparts over the weeks showed that, yes, a lot was going on in terms of planning, in terms of strategy, in terms of explaining things, in terms of cooling tempers, and so many other things at the end of the day. So, just like you said, this is one story that is likely to remain in the public space for some time to come.
Yes, surely. But the good thing is that it was precision-based. And it was clearly on terrorists. And I want the Nigerian media to be circumspect. There is a need for us to realize that we should be factual in reporting this and should have the interest of this country at heart. That is the way to go. It is a delicate thing, and we should not be reckless in our reportage.
And not just the media, the political elite. This is not time to make political gain out of it for whatever reason. Everyone, at least openly, at least officially, everyone is on the same page when it comes to the need for the country to face terrorism headlong. And everyone believes that, yes, whatever needs to be done should be done. So it's really not the time for people to make political gains out of whatever, how we see the picture. Because trust me, Mr. Salami, from tomorrow you are likely to see some spinning. Some people trying to spin the story for in favor of one personality or one group or whatever it is, just to make some political gain out of it.
Sure. Sure. They will feast on it. I can guarantee that they will do that. It's just that we, as purveyors of news, should be circumspect.
And I was just thinking, Mr. Salami, this morning, I say I really wish a time will come in my country that my country will be able to handle issues like this, issues of precision targets of terrorists anywhere in the country without need for external help. We hope that day will come.
I hope to.
All right, still talking about